nosso evento já vai começar, mas antes gostaria de dar algumas dicas de segurança. É proibido fumar. Respeite a capacidade máxima do local. Antes de começar o evento, por favor, localize os dispositivos de segurança. Em caso de emergência, mantenha calma, identifique as saídas de emergência e siga as orientações da nossa brigada. Opa, nosso evento já vai começar. Muito obrigada pela sua presença. Ops, por favor, não se esqueça de colocar o celular no modo silencioso. Agora sim, até a próxima!
Conheça a Casa Firjan. Cursos, exposições, tendência, tecnologia e inovação para a nova economia. Viva a transformação!
Boa noite, pessoal. Tudo bem? Bom, para quem não me conhece, eu sou Yuri, eu sou um dos responsáveis aqui pelo conteúdo da Casa Firjan. Antes de começar, assim, só para ter uma ideia, quem aqui já esteve na Casa Firjan antes? Levanta a mão. Cada vez maior esse número, que bom. Bom, algumas informações básicas, né? Nosso Wi-Fi, Casa Firjan, com CF maiúscula a senha. A gente sempre pede que vocês utilizem a hashtag Casa Firjan, caso vocês postem algum vídeo, alguma foto, enfim. E a gente tem um grupo no Facebook também, onde a gente compartilha informações, compartilha programação, compartilha conteúdo, e vocês podem entrar lá e compartilhar conteúdo também, um grupo aberto. A ideia é que a gente possa trocar. Bom, o que é a Casa Firjan, né? A Casa Firjan é um espaço comprometido em refletir e criar propostas e soluções para os desafios da nova economia numa sociedade em constante transformação. O que é essa constante transformação que a gente está falando, né? Existem alguns dados que a gente gosta de citar, por exemplo, um dado da Universidade de Oxford, que diz que 47% das profissões que existem hoje vão deixar de existir nos próximos 20 anos. Aí vem o Fórum Econômico Mundial e fala que 65% das crianças que estão na escola primária hoje vão trabalhar em profissões que ainda não existem. Existe um dado também da IBM, que chama IBM Dublin Curve, que diz que há 100 anos atrás, todo o conhecimento da humanidade demorava 100 anos para ser duplicado. Há 15 anos atrás, com a massificação da internet, todo o conhecimento, ou seja, toda a informação gerada pela humanidade, passou a ser duplicada em 12 anos. A expectativa é que em 2020 a gente chegue a um nível com inteligência artificial, com machine learning, que é a capacidade de uma máquina aprender sozinha e se autodesenvolvendo, que a gente vai falar um pouquinho hoje sobre essas tecnologias também. A tendência é que todo o conhecimento, toda a informação gerada pela humanidade passe a ser duplicada em 12 horas. Esses dados, eles ilustram um pouquinho dessa transformação que a gente está passando, da velocidade que as mudanças estão acontecendo, mas sozinho eles não querem dizer nada, né? O que importa é o que a gente faz em cima deles, e aqui na Casa Firjan a gente trabalha em cima de 4 pilares principais para justamente trabalhar criando o futuro que a gente deseja. O primeiro pilar é a casa aberta, então é o programa que a gente faz para que vocês se sintam à vontade aqui, para que vocês se apropriem do espaço. A gente oferece mostras culturais, a gente oferece shows, concertos e inúmeras atividades nesse sentido para que vocês possam vir e se apropriar do espaço. O segundo é o pilar de pensamento, então é onde a gente busca refletir e se articular junto com instituições que estão pensando o ambiente regulatório da cidade, do estado, do país, e como think tanks, por exemplo. Para citar um exemplo do pilar pensamento, a gente fez um evento agora junto com o SEBRE para falar sobre a crise da Venezuela. A gente tem o pilar do Lab de Tendências, que é do qual esse ciclo de palestras faz parte. No Lab de Tendências a gente é dividido em 2 partes, né? O Aquário, que são esses ciclos de palestras que a gente organiza aqui, palestras, debates, trocas que a gente organiza aqui no auditório, e a gente tem o Farol, que é onde a gente fica pesquisando todas as tendências. A gente tem uma metodologia própria de estudo do futuro, a gente lança um reporte anual que chama Futuride, a gente cria um evento no final do ano que chama Futuros Possíveis, todo baseado nessas tendências dos futuros emergentes e pós-emergentes que a gente identifica, né? Tendências de tecnologias, tendências de comportamentos. E, por fim, a gente tem o Lab de Inovação, que é onde a gente aprofunda esse conteúdo. Então, a gente oferece cursos, a gente oferece masterclasses, oficinas. E aí, só para citar um pouquinho da programação que a gente tem em cima de todos esses programas que eu estou citando, vamos lá. Amanhã a gente tem um evento super bacana, que é gratuito. Infelizmente, já esgotou, né? Devia ter tirado. Bom, mas vai ser um evento super bacana, a gente vai, talvez transmita ao vivo, se vocês ficarem ligados no Facebook, vocês podem ver. Design para abundância, um conceito para além da sustentabilidade, com Michael Braungart, né, que é o criador do conceito de Cradle to Cradle, que é o conceito pilar para a teoria da economia circular. A gente vai falar sobre marketing de influência na próxima terça-feira, com a Bia Granja, que é a fundadora da UPix, né, uma aceleradora dessa indústria de influência. A gente vai ter também a gerente de mídias da L'Oréal trazendo um case de como eles utilizaram influenciadores digitais na estratégia deles de marketing para disseminar o propósito deles e para aumentar as vendas. A gente vai ter um influenciador também que a gente ainda não confirmou o nome. Enfim, dia 4, quinta-feira, a gente vai falar sobre mix de mídia, então sobre essa nova legislação sobre privacidade de dados, que vai entrar em vigor em 2020. A gente vai trazer um time fera de marketing para discutir quais são os impactos dessa legislação nova. A gente vai falar sobre biomimética na outra terça-feira, do dia 9, com o Fred Gelli. A gente vai falar sobre desempenho criativo otimizado com Charles Watson. Depois a gente fala sobre disrupção digital, como preparar sua empresa para a era digital, com Stefan von den Eycken, é um autor alemão que vai vir lançar esse livro agora na versão brasileira. Ele estudou diversas empresas brasileiras para falar um pouquinho desse cenário de transformação digital também. E por fim, mas nem um pouco menos importante, a gente vai falar sobre trabalho, ócio e criatividade com Domênico De Masi, que é um sociólogo que dispensa apresentações, autor do conceito de ócio criativo. Ele está lançando um novo livro, que é esse livro, Uma Simples Revolução, e o lançamento oficial vai ser aqui na Casa Firjan, no dia 30. Em educação, a gente tem uma série de cursos também super bacanas: fabricação digital, gestão em crise em ambientes digitais, fashion film, branding, gestão estratégica da marca, mindfulness. Esses cursos que eu citei agora são aulas abertas. Então, são gratuitos todos, vocês podem vir experienciar um pouquinho da nossa metodologia de ensino. A partir daí, se vocês se identificarem com o curso, se vocês se identificarem com a casa, vocês podem vir e se inscrever depois nos cursos, que aí sim vão rodar efetivamente. Depois a gente vai ter uma masterclass também, como encontrar um trabalho que você ame, junto com a The School of Life. The School of Life é uma escola de habilidades socioemocionais criada no Reino Unido, e hoje ela faz parte do portfólio da Casa Firjan, né? Então, no Rio de Janeiro, The School of Life só na Casa Firjan. E a gente também tem um Fab Lab aqui em cima, no prédio. Não sei se todos vocês estão familiarizados com o conceito de Fab Lab, é um laboratório de fabricação. É um termo que foi cunhado no MIT, que é o Instituto de Tecnologia de Massachusetts, e a prerrogativa é que você possa disseminar a cultura maker, né? Ou seja, você possa prototipar produtos sem passar necessariamente por uma linha industrial. Você vai lá com uma máquina de impressão 3D, com uma máquina de corte a laser, você pode experimentar, desenvolver ideias e tirar a sua ideia do papel sem ter que passar por uma linha industrial. Uma premissa da rede de Fab Lab universal é que ele seja aberto uma vez por mês gratuitamente para a comunidade, para que as pessoas possam experienciar, para que possa ser disseminada essa cultura maker e essas práticas, esse conhecimento em torno dessas máquinas que são cada vez mais estratégicas para a gente. E a gente abre aqui toda semana, então toda sexta-feira, de graça também, vocês podem vir experienciar um pouquinho dessas máquinas, entender um pouquinho mais sobre essa cultura maker e tentar também desenvolver alguma coisa. Enfim, as inscrições estão no site www.firjan.com.br/casafirjan. A gente sempre pede que vocês respondam o nosso questionário de avaliação, ele é super importante para a gente ir construindo esses eventos ao longo do tempo. E sem mais delongas, já que a gente está falando tanto de transformação, de novas tecnologias, existe um risco eminente que a gente pode identificar a partir disso, que é justamente como é que a gente faz a gestão de risco, né, nesse cenário de constante, né, todo mundo hiperconectado. Como é que a gente realmente utiliza essas tecnologias que a gente falou a nosso favor e a favor da nossa empresa. Então, para falar um pouco sobre isso, eu vou chamar o CEO da TSC, da The Stakeholder Company, que é uma empresa baseada em Singapura e eleita uma das maiores startups de 2013. Ela é pioneira no uso de sistemas de Big Data Intelligence para gerenciar problemas e oportunidades de negócios. Terrence Lyons.
Thank you. Tudo bem, né? So first of all, thank you very much for your patience with my Portuguese. It's non-existent, but how is our translator doing? It's like, this is amazing. With technology, I'm automatically speaking Portuguese. What a start. It's a great pleasure to be here today, and this is an amazing program. I learned a lot just then. Unfortunately, I'll be going, but I would love to come back to some of these things. So let me test the clicker. Does not work, doesn't matter. We will do it by hand. So today, with AI, I thought maybe we could go into the intricate details of algorithms, of mathematics, of statistics, or maybe not. Some people are keen on doing that, but look, it's 7:20. It's been a long day. It's been raining. You all got stuck in traffic on the way, so it's amazing that you're here. So I thought we might not go into the mathematics of AI and just go to the next one. Thank you. So let me try that. I thought we could play some quiz. Who likes quizzes? Yeah? Okay, so there's 4 questions, and the winner of the quiz gets the shiny new car. But we don't know where that is. We'll see. So 4 questions. So how I propose that you work is just grab the person beside you, work as a team, and see if you can figure out what the right answer's in. So first question, we ready? And we'll go through this quickly. Okay? You'll go to your partner. Are they good? Okay. First question is install. Let me just close that. So what percentage of corporate profits is at stake from the external world? Partner up, double up, choose a number. You got 30 seconds. What would that be? A little bit, 20%, or a big bit, 50%? And when we say the external world, it's everything outside your door. Regulatory, Brasilia, Mercosur, everything. What percentage? Okay, you good? Teams, you got the number in your head? We will be testing you. So, second question. Which sector has the most to lose from the external environment? That is tax, new regulations, new policies that are not friendly to the environment. Which sector would that be? Any guesses? Don't need to call them out right now, but just quickly talk with your partner, figure it out, come up with a number. More time? We're good? Okay, so keep the number in your head. Next question. What most hurts or helps reputation? So this is a more complicated slide, but we work a lot with McKinsey globally, and this is their work, and they came up with 10 key drivers of reputation. So just to explain this is a pointer, right? No, it's not. So I'll just go back. We have innovation and quality in the orange. That's A. That's our ability to build cool new things. Then we have our fair pricing. It's a fair price. Then we have high quality and safety of our products. That's A. Now B is we have our operation and financial performance. That's important too. We do well at our business. We make a lot of money. C, in the blue, we do good for society. We do good for the environment. And D, we're trustworthy, we're ethical, and that's a very relevant issue at the moment in many countries. So which would it be? A, B, C, D? Pick a letter. Just have a quick chat, settle on one. You good? Okay, time's up. You got a number? So, next question, final question. Which one of those branches is AI? A, B, C, D, E. A, B, C, D. Okay? So this is just to get us thinking and energized because it's 7:30. So we're good? We got enough questions? That's the final question, question 4. So let's presume you have answers. So the answer to question 1 and 2 is amazing. Between 30 and 50% of all corporate profit is at risk, is at stake. Who guessed the 30 to 50% number? Whoa. Who guessed lower than that? Who guessed much lower than that? I completely understand why you did that, because it is an amazing thing to think that all the profit that we make as a corporation is at risk, or 50%. And in order of priority, the most threatened are financial services. Well, we certainly understand why that is. But then we have auto and tech particularly strong at the moment, transport, logistics, and working down the list, we have telco, declining list. So that's what we see in the middle. But we see a tremendous amount of value at stake. And those numbers are amazing. So the answer to that final question was, it's complicated. Who got that? It's complicated. So it's really complicated, actually, because who has an iPhone in this room? Any iPhones? iPhones. Wow, that's a lot of iPhones. So there's a metal in each one of those iPhones called tantalum. Has anyone ever heard of tantalum? Tantalum comes from the Congo. It's extracted through a lot of illegal mines, and it flows through Rwanda, and then it disappears into this network of very shady tantalum dealers who distribute it everywhere. But a lot of it has blood on it. And so Apple cares very deeply about that. But nevertheless, Apple does do a lot of work in China. And there's been a lot of criticism about what Apple does do in China to its big partners. Yet we still buy iPhones. I still have an iPhone. That's not enough to stop me buying an iPhone. And if I look at the next thing, fair pricing practices. Apple does not charge fairly. It charges a fortune. We can buy the same thing at Samsung, whatever, for Huawei, much cheaper and often better, but we still buy Apple. So even though the ethical practices and some of the things in the blue are not what we would like, the things in the orange beat them. So that's why I say the notion of this whole reputation business is very complicated. Any comments on that before we move on? I won't go through each one of those. No comments. We'll assume not. So final question was answer 4. They all are. Yes, the winner of the new car was going, they all are. We don't know where the car is, by the way. It was stolen. So these are all branches of AI. So we particularly experiment a lot with the first in the blue. We do some of the yellow, and we're starting to do the blue. But AI starts to be this complex notion where we think of deep neural networks and complex things. It's not that complex. Like any complex topic, we need to break it apart. AI is an umbrella, and underneath that, there are different topics which relate to AI, and we can master these things in bite-sized chunks. So that was the answer. So that's the end of the quiz. And that's why we get back to reputation over here. It's complicated. So reputation is not a vacuous, empty term. You have a reputation with somebody, for something, in some place and time. Now, there are 3 very complex variables. So I have a reputation with my wife for being a very bad husband in Singapore all the time. That might be my particular reputation with her, but we have a reputation with someone, for something, in some place and time. So it is complicated. And let me just take you to the next slide where we start to explain what that looks like. When we look at the external environment, and who here is from oil and gas? Any oil and gas people? 1, 2, 4, 5, 6. Any other oil and gas? 7. So oil and gas is an amazing thing. We do a lot of work all over the planet. So we work in 96 countries now, and a lot of those countries with oil and gas. Oil and gas used to be a prayer, a lot of luck, and a lot of money, and then we would drill into the ground and hope there was oil there. Now, oil companies became technology companies. With their advanced seismics, they can ping the reservoirs and see exactly where they drill. That's amazing. The risk equation in the past used to be 90% drilling, 10% above. Now, that whole risk equation has reversed. 10% risk of not finding something going wrong, 90% is above ground. And that's what we call above ground seismics. How would you be able to turn those machines, point them up, and look at all of the stakeholder environments and see what's happening where? So a little bit about us. A while back, I became convinced that everything that I was doing was useless. I had no impact. I had no ability to guide my teams. And I was at Microsoft. I was on a special operations team at Microsoft, which just means if you fail, you're fired. And I actually loved that. I used to choose these big missions. And a long time back, we got a knock on the door, and it was the Department of Justice. Not a nice knock. He said, "You're a monopoly." And we said, "No, we're not." And they said, "No one says no to us." And then they came back, and they sued us, and they introduced new policies and new regulations. And it was amazing. So I ended up inheriting that mission, which was basically, the mission was, we have a problem. We're the most hated company on the planet. Go and fix it. And that was the mission statement. So I caught that mission. I said, how am I going to do that? So I had 75 people around the globe. They were good people. They were really smart. And we had lots of money, very rich company. And so we did things. We did lots of things with those 75 people. And nothing worked. Nothing at all. So the mission was, how do we fix it using technology, a better understanding of reputation, better understanding of strategy, to fix this complex thing. And that was when I got into this space. That was about 9 years ago. And after that, I was young and dumb at that time, but I learned a lot. I got to go around the world about 10 times. I went to 32 countries in 6 months, and it was just like, wow, if Microsoft has this problem, every other company has this problem. And so I started creating a model. And I can't whiteboard that for you today, but the model is quite simple, and we can share it to whoever wants after. And it's a model also I give lectures on at Oxford University, to the business school there. And the model is very simple. Everything we do is reactive. We need to become proactive. We need to get ahead of the issues. Every company knows that. And so I rolled that project into my own company, TSC, and now we have a few who will stand up later from TSC here tonight. And we use big data and technology to look at really complex issues, but we'll show you what that looks like. So it's all about machines and algos and complex technology. And that's actually a scary thing. I'm scared of AI, and we do a lot of work in this space. I'm scared that my children might not have a future because of AI, which is a terrible thing. But let's focus on the good side about that. Now, the bad side is humans 0. It's like a football match. Humans 0, machines 1. Humans lose, and machines win everything. All of our jobs, all of our resources, everything. And there are many scenarios where that actually plays out. There are many people that are a lot smarter than I am that worry deeply about that scenario. But let's focus on the nice thing. And the nice thing we encapsulated in our mission. We came up with this bit wacky, crazy idea that somehow, what if it was not binary, machines, the mind? What if we could combine those two to do something better? And that's what, that was the foundation, premise of TSC. Mind plus machine hopefully gives us some sort of superhuman capability. So, something better. So let's go back to reputation, because it's not often that you see technology, AI, machine learning, etc., and reputation in the same sentence. It's not often. And so when we look at reputation, we started with the thesis. Reputation is very important. If you recall, 30 to 50% of all of our profits are at stake through reputation. Yet, how do we manage reputation? Well, in the old days, we used to wine and dine. We used to go to Brasilia, book out a nice restaurant, invite all of our ministers, the best Malbec, the best champagne, beautiful dinners. That was a model. It might sound surprising to you for a long, long time. The other model that lots of companies use at the moment is Google, Microsoft Excel, and their team, headcount. And that's pretty much the most complex thing that any company has today, which is really interesting because if you look at the reputation department, which equals government affairs, lobbying, external affairs, asuntos públicos, all of these functions, they have no tools. They're holding 50% of the value of the company and have nothing, which is fascinating. So we said, it's not working. It's time to do it better. I looked at my 75 people in Microsoft and I said, I can't help you. I have no clue what to do. And everywhere from New Zealand to Argentina up to Alaska, no clue what to do. So what we did is we went back to the with someone, for something, in some time and place. So if we start with the with, I'll show you a little thing that we did. We were working with an English military company who came to us. We don't normally work with military companies. They came and said, we have a problem in Saudi Arabia. We said, oh, okay, what's the problem? They said, the king will die. And we said, so what's the problem? And they said, we have a big helicopter contract that is very important to us, and so we need to know who is the next king. And so we said, that's easy. We can do that. No worries. No one of us had been to Saudi Arabia before. So we said, yeah, we're a bit ignorant, I guess. So we started off with our premise. There's going to be this regime change. We had no clue who any of them were. The king will die. Long live the king, and someone else will replace him. So we called this our Game of Thrones. So we started fundamental statistics, mathematics, calculation, big data, all of that. We started, how complex can it be? It's just one king. Someone around him will be the next. So there was one king who had 45 sons, and then we went thinking, yeah, we don't really like that very much, who produced 300 descendants. Okay, and we're starting to think this is a little complicated. And they produced 6,750 princes. And we know that because we mapped them. It was really boring. Round about then, we're thinking, yeah, this is complicated and we're not sure about this. And so then we multiplied that in complexity by the complexity of the Saudi society. Kinships, friends, families, clans, Yemeni concubines, believe it or not, that was one. Religion, the oil complex, military. And then we also multiplied that by an incredibly complex issue horizon. And I'll show you what this is later on, but it's basically a very complex set of forces, both external and internal, inside Saudi Arabia, driving change very, very, very quickly. So that took a week, actually, to map that with a team of about 4, and we came up with this. The machine gives us data. We have to point the machine in the right place, but it gives us data. And then it starts putting all this data side by side. Meaningful adjacency, so we can see it a little bit better. And that doesn't tell us anything. It's a pretty picture. So then we bring along that thing called the human mind, and that's incredible. Because the human mind can look at these topics and say, I see no pattern there. Or actually, the computer will say, I see no pattern there. But the mind will say, hold it, who's that little cluster of people over there? Why are there so many connections to this man? And then we start doing a little bit of analysis behind that. And so that's deduction, it's hypothesis, it's all the things that human beings are really good at. And we really like human beings, so we employ a lot of them. So that's what we did. And yes, 1 week, we came up with 4 possibilities for the next king, and we flipped a coin, luck, and we said it will be that one, and it turned out it was that one. So that was narrowing all that data down like that, and then luck. Yeah, that's the king. So that was complete luck at the end. But the key is, what we found also important is who would be ousted, who would be outside of those networks, who would be pushed aside. Because we had contacts and contracts with that person, we better start changing them straight away. So that took, with the analysis, 10 days. And then we gave them the answer, and I don't know what they did with it. They never told us. Let's see if they kept their helicopter contract. But that's the power of the machine and the mind. So at that point, I'll just show you a quick, I'll just log into our platform, and I'll show you a quick way that we do that. That was an early version that we saw at the moment, and we have our friend Joachim Levy up there. Does anyone know who he is? I'm sure you do. I don't. I'm an ignorant Australian. I know nothing about that man. So I'm going to bring him up here. And as an Australian, I've got a couple of choices. I can hire a very expensive consultancy who will say, we know everyone in Brazil, we can connect you, trust us. I can hire a consultancy. I can move an expat there. I can do many things. The question is, what can we do with our finger, a mouse, and this pattern recognition software that we have there? Because we have the best pattern recognition software algorithms on the planet between our ears. Nothing beats those, no machine beats those. So we bring up the president, and we start seeing that he has relevance, and we see that the machine over here has drawn a network of who he is. And we can start seeing that in some detail. And what's very important is to start tracking everything that in the public media that person is saying or being said about them. So let's see if we can go a little deeper into that map. So let me click on this, excuse me. So here we have our target. We're trying to understand more about him. And as I move these, basically I'm just using my finger and my brain to say, I don't understand. Let me move things around until I do. And so I see many different connections. And I see this. I don't know what that is. So I can read. And then I can see what this organization is saying in the news. or I can choose to expand them. So let me expand that network there. And so what we've just done is we've connected our target to all of the new potential connections in that ecosystem without actually knowing anything about Brazil. So much better if a Brazilian does this, because they do actually know something about Brazil. So let's add some of the people to this network too. So there's lots of people, so I can add this person, this person, this person. And we'll start to explore how all of this connects. We'll just randomly add this person. As we go down, we can also add different news reports that have been featured in. So now we start to see a much richer network of people, and we start to see key connections. Eduarda Leroc. Who is that? How are they connected? Institute, Jones de Santos News, former members of different Treasury Nacional, Pontifical. So it's just a way of exploring how a network connects together. Now, when we were growing up in small communities, and believe me, I grew up in a very small community in Papua New Guinea. I think there are basically about 10 families there. But when we grew up in small communities 500 years ago, they reached a number called, and the number was 150. That's about the total number of connections we can map with the human brain. And so all we're trying to do here is map everything at a much larger scale than we could before, just with our fingers, and understanding who's who in these particular networks. So this is a more recent example of our Game of Thrones, which was the Saudi Arabia example applied to Brazil. Network mapping. So let's go back to the central thesis, which was reputation with someone, for something, in some time and place. Another little game. This is a fun game. There's lots of oil in the Arctic. Yes. Who wants to come and drill with me in the Arctic? We're going to make billions of dollars. Who would come and drill with me in the Arctic? Wow, not many people. I'm going to be very lonely. So why wouldn't you drill it in the Arctic? Any ideas? Oil spills? Yeah, there are wildlife and whales and Inuits, many different reasons. So these are all right, and I personally wouldn't want to drill in the Arctic because I think it's the most dangerous thing we can do to the whole planet. But there will be lots of companies that do want to. But when we call out these issues that we see, like polar bears, the marine life, oil spills, polar ice cap melt, changing, rising sea levels, all of these are right, but they're also very difficult human concepts. We haven't done a very good job at building a structure of these issues. And whenever we don't have a taxonomy, we will fail mapping that at scale. So my bet about drilling as a company, the impact on my reputation, would be everything in red will hurt, everything in green will be maybe interesting. But the red, I think, will outweigh the green. So if we look at this, we have sustainable business practices. We're going to fail. No one's going to like us. Societal contributions. Well, I don't think we're going to be very successful either when the whales stop coming up the coast because of our seismic drilling. So values and transparent business conduct. I don't know about that one. Up to the top, operational excellence. They're going to have a telescope focused on all of our operational processes, which might fail. And finally, there's going to be a lot of focus on the quality and safety of our products. But innovation, maybe people will applaud us because we're very innovative. But I think the negative outweighs the positive. But again, these are messy human ideas. So what we do as a company is, before we even care about networks, we break things down into a logical taxonomy. So at the center, we have Arctic. Let's go drill in the Arctic. Oh no, let's not go drill in the Arctic, because ENVR, environment. Now let's just focus on that for a second. The environment breaks down into climate change, ecosystem impacts, and then spill response. So 3 things, neat things. So it starts to be more organized. Spill responses, or Arctic life. Let's look at Arctic life over here. Breaks down to fish, birds, marines, habitat loss, etc., etc. And when you start breaking down an issue forensically into a taxonomy, 2 things happen, which are really cool. One, we all understand it a lot better now, and we have a common hymn sheet. I don't know if you got that hymn sheet. Yeah, hymn sheet. That's what we call it in Australia. So we all have a common language to describe the issues. But the second thing is, we can embed hundreds of robots, complex search algorithms, in each one of those segments. And what they can do is launch every 60 minutes to look for change. What happened? What happened? What happened? And when they do identify content, and it might be in social media, or web, or classic media, or it might be in academic reports, or company data, or it might even be in government data. When they look at all of that messy data and pull it back in, suddenly we have a better view of the world. So I'll show you, this is an example of the Arctic. But vamos, let's go and have a look at the way we think of it. So I'll take you back to the sample demonstration that Amalia down here built for this meeting. So this is not a complete system. She built it for the meeting, so we'll have a look. So what the team have done here is break down the world into a sample set of issues. Financial regulation in Brazil. They've broken it down into 2 sections, which breaks down into 3 in that case and 5 in that case. Or it might be health over here, breaks down like that. When I was a child growing up, later on I got to Australia, I always used to look at systems of knowledge and I was always confused. I say, how do people know so much? And actually what I started to do, what I became interested in, is not reading the book. Well, I did read the book, but first of all, just looking at indexes in the library. I'd go to the library, and I'd take out every book on subject X, and I would just read the index of each one of them. And I would just see how they were describing the shape of a complex system. And that's all this is. But once it's well done, you can do some pretty cool things. So let me just click on something. I'll click on elementos. I'm sure my pronunciation is horrible. So what the system is doing is it's mapping all the people in your network in Brazil who are interested in that topic. Then all of the organizations, and we can keep going down. And then all of the news points. Now what we've done is we've embedded hundreds of algos in each one that their only job is to look at that topic, learn, understand who's moving, and understand how the debate is being described, the keywords. If it relies on a human to always define keywords, our system will fail, because some debates are moving so quickly that people are coming up with new inventive ways to hate you, and you will never keep track of that. So what we need to do is have a learning system that keeps expanding as the shape of the problem or the opportunity changes. And so we can see a number of different areas of content coming in, or we can drill down. And another way that we can do that is to aggregate those views over time. So here, for that particular topic, we're tracking the top 5 reputational issues per day. And then as we view that content and scroll down, we start to see interesting things. So we can click on this topic, which is just the storage of the news article. But a machine, and this is what's really cool, doing this in PowerPoint would just take so long. But a machine just did it for me. That's really cool. So a machine, and this is the AI part of the reputation, has understood that that person is a human being. Whoa! It's actually really difficult to get a machine to understand that that person is a human being. And this person is an entity. That's an organization. And then it says, okay, all right, I think I got it. But how do we build all of that into a relationship of, and this is very complex, apologies, of who was mentioned in that article, who have we met before, and who else was linked to that person. So it's just building it like that. So this is an example of just looking at complex debates and reputations and building a radar which is designed to sweep around whilst we're sleeping and identify those incoming issues. Let's call them missiles. All over the horizon, there are incoming missiles. Some are fast, some are slow, some are actually opportunities. Some will cause a lot of damage. So what is the probability and the likelihood of occurrence and the magnitude of opportunity or loss? So it's just a model. And that's what I was going to show you today on the system. Not a lot more, because what I really wanted to do, just to wrap up, is celebrate people. We actually really like human beings. So I started a long time ago. My first customer was HP. HP didn't know at that time that the company was me and my dog. And the dog really wasn't very clever. And so it was just me. Sometimes I could know. But it was just me and my dog. Yet the mission is, how can you build a combination of mind, machine, and clever technology? So it actually doesn't matter about the size. Since then, it's been great. What I realized is it's not just about building things, products, systems, but also about building teams. And so I'd like to introduce you to our very nice human beings, they're real-life human beings up here that sit in Rio. So there's 2 at the front. Do you want to stand up, guys, who are in this picture? There they are. What a nice bunch of people. Yeah. So that's TSC. Thank you very much for the attention. And what we can now go to is some Q&A. I hope that was interesting.
Alguém tem alguma pergunta? Ali, Alejandra.
I didn't know. I just got that. I'm just about to learn Portuguese. Just a moment. It's like the Matrix. I speak Portuguese now. Okay.
Olá. Olá, boa noite. Gostaria de parabenizá-lo pela apresentação. E eu fiquei com uma dúvida quanto à extração dos dados, porque, pelo que eu vi, vocês extraem esse material de citações a esses perfis na imprensa. E eu gostaria de saber se, antes de gerar esses grafos, vocês também recolhem menções a esses perfis das redes sociais, ou se é só de matérias publicadas na mídia, na imprensa tradicional, para obter esses grafos e essas imagens, essas redes de relacionamento. Obrigada.
So we collect everything. So we divide the world into pipes, and there's a social media pipe, a media pipe, a web pipe, let's say an academic pipe, government pipe, etc., etc., etc. And so then we have hundreds of targets in each of those pipes, and we have cross-reference information to make sure it's valid. So there was a question earlier about structured and unstructured data. Most data in this world, and as at the intro of this we saw it's doubling so quickly, all of the information on this planet. Most of it is unstructured. It's really difficult. It's sweaty data. So at the start of TSC, we were very sweaty and not very smart. Slowly, we've become a little bit more smart and less sweaty, but we're still pretty sweaty. That's why we rely on human beings and have that mind-machine partnership. But yes, we catch everything because there's not one source of truth. Twitter's one source. Your national newspapers are another. There are hundreds of different sources. Any other questions? Orange, Mr. Telecommunications.
Yes, congratulations for the presentation and a lot of information and the power of your machine is based on data, as we're discussing here. And how do you manage to ensure that this data does not have bias, or if there is a bias, if you are able to qualify it or not? Today we're talking a lot about the security of this data and fake news, for instance. What are the impact of fake news on these kind of studies, this kind of analysis? There's something that you're already considering. These are topics that are under your radar as well.
Yeah. Well, fake news, just to answer the last part, is a question I've been asked all week. Fake news matters. Fake news is not fake news if someone believes it, because then it shapes public opinion. And so we can't exclude fake news. We need to capture it. Then we need some way to indicate that it's fake news. And we're still working on the right little emoticon. Maybe we'll have an unhappy face next to the thing. I don't know what we'll do. But often what we see is that fake news comes from sources, and once you identify the sources, then you can test the veracity of that data at each point. So we can say this whole newspaper is biased, but we still have to put that in. And the other question is basically about privacy and all of this. So one of my goals creating this was I always found that companies are the dominant institution and power on the planet now, even more so than government in many, many cases. And they're not very transparent. And they have the perfect defense. The perfect defense is, oh no, sorry, I didn't know about that, so I couldn't have been expected to change. So I think when you expose companies to all of this information, divergent opinions across different stakeholder groups, that's actually a good thing. But you have to do that with very careful safeguards for privacy, data security. So what we do is, it's not easy. We have to look at every single jurisdiction all across the 96 countries, read their legislation, get it checked by lawyers, and make sure we never take anything that we shouldn't. What we actually take is we only look at public information. Someone has made that available, or it's known on the internet. We never look at private information. So we're approached by a lot of very strange companies over the years, and most of them actually were spy companies. And they say, we have all of this data. And each time we just say, no thanks, we don't want it. Our first mission is to keep our clients safe, not expose them to that risk. That's a great question. Any other questions out there? Mr. Mathematician. Yeah.
Can you give us some more examples of how to use your practical uses for these technologies between your clients?
Oh, the question was, how's it being used? And it's really interesting to see the different uses across the world. In one case in Papua New Guinea, it was used to look at witches. I think you did translate correctly, witches. You know, with the hats. So, because witches are a big problem in Papua New Guinea. Papua New Guinea, if you don't know where it is, Australia, New Zealand over there, just above that is Papua New Guinea. It's like the most forgotten country on the planet. So you're allowed to kill a witch in Papua New Guinea, which is really bad because people do kill witches, or actually they do kill their neighbor, and then they defend themselves by saying that neighbor is a witch, and because she's dead, she can't justify herself, and that creates a lot of problems in the community. And before you know it, there's a road that's coming up the mountain, and they blame that snaking road for bringing evil spirits. And the road belongs to the mining company, and all you need to do is drop a tree across that road, and you start to lose $10 million a day. So witches are important to map. That was one. There are a couple of other good ones, like there's some really weird ones, which I won't go into. The king was pretty weird. Whaling captains. Map whaling captains in the Arctic in a tiny little village. So normally we look at huge data sets, but this one was a tiny little town in Kaktovik. Now if you Google Kaktovik, you just don't see anything. It's just all white. And so you take that 360-degree, feature that Google has, and you put yourself on the airport and you look around and there's nothing, and you think the machine's not working, but there is actually nothing there until you see this snowmobile over here. So there's actually nothing there, but there are 5 families who have 250 people in that village, and they hold the key to the drilling rights just off the coast of Alaska for one of the world's biggest natural gas. So it's really important to know who's married to who's sleeping with who hates who are the family members, all of this. That was a fun one. There's actually quite a number of them. I know it's getting late, but any other questions?
Hi, congratulations, it's a brilliant talk. My name is Daniel, and I'm a doctor, I'm a neurologist. And in regard to medical science, we tend to use a lot of statistical analysis. We know why that drug A, B, or C works because it was studied by this statistical method or something. Do we have any kind of black box algorithm structure? Maybe in the future we will have a library where we know how this algorithm works and why does it work. And do you think that it kind of feasible?
I hope it's feasible that we actually know how this stuff works. So we use a lot of statistical analysis too, because it's very difficult. We all say a computer can drive a car, therefore computers are amazing, therefore a computer can do anything. But a computer actually is okay at driving a car, but it's terrible at understanding human beings. If I say, I hate everything about us, meet you by the Coke machine, and I'll give you back the wedding ring. Do I hate the Coke machine, or do I hate the wedding ring, or do I hate you? A computer really fails on that analysis quite often. And it's obvious, we understand immediately that actually I hate that person, and I don't want to marry them anymore. It's obvious. But for a computer, it's like, what? I don't get it. So what we do is use statistical analysis where we train those data sets with humans, and then the machine starts learning from those cases. Now, my biggest concern, and this is why I worry a lot about AI, is unexplainable models. So particularly in the health field, there will be more and more medical prognoses, diagnoses made by machines. Let's hope that we can understand why the machine made that, because often we can't. So there was a crash, a stock market crash, and I think it was about 2015, that wiped $1 trillion off the stock market. And until this day, no one knows why. No one actually has any intel on why we lost $1 trillion. And we lost it in about 15 minutes. It's called the crash of Black Monday or something like this. But poof, all the money was lost. And no one understands why. No one can reverse engineer the complex automatic trading algos because they were just too fast. So that's not a very good model. If they can screw up the stock market, I worry about humans. Any other questions that made me more fun? No. A machine always fails on sarcasm. Yeah. Particularly Australian sarcasm.
Oi. O sistema permite que você cruze informações de relacionamento de bastidores das empresas com as informações que estão públicas?
I'm sorry, I repeat that. Yeah, a system is never perfect. So we do the best that we can, and we provide all the information. And our analysts then check the information. They load it into the system. They say, I am connected to Amalia because she's my boss. But then actually you meet Amalia or you meet me, the client, and you realize that, no, that's wrong. You should be able to course correct, check that all the time. There's a question back there.
Olá, boa noite. Eu sou da área da comunicação e se tem assim estudo sobre.
I'm sorry, I missed that. I'm just trying to plug this in. It's technology.
I will repeat for you. Eu sou da área da comunicação e existe um estudo na Fiocruz, que é um órgão, né, que eu acho que você deve conhecer, que é sobre o mapa simbólico da comunicação. Foi um estudo que acabou virando uma tese de doutorado e fala sobre, assim, não é da área da inteligência artificial, mas é da área dos seres humanos, assim, de como que certas informações influenciam o sistema. E é simbólico. E eu gostaria de entender, assim, vocês trabalham com o simbólico? Porque o fake news, ele está muito na área do que a gente chama na terapia de sombra. É sobre isso.
Wow, I've never been asked that question. I actually don't know where to start. It's a really good question. I would say no, because we're only really at the start of this journey in mapping all of these different influences on human beings. So symbolic, I completely agree with you, is very important. When I grew up, there was a lot of symbolism around the natives in Papua New Guinea around how they would treat this little white kid, or how they would cook for us or hold us or draw with us. Lots and lots of symbolism. But no, we're not clever enough yet to map that into the system. Maybe one day. But really interesting question. Any other questions?
Hi, thanks for the presentation. First, how do you see your business in 3-5 years? And do you include videos, which will be a really strong media from now on?
We can send you a video of some on our website. videos in this, in our system, of content. Oh yeah, sure, we include everything. Yeah, we can have links to videos. Yeah. Where do I see the business in 3 to 5 years? I don't know. There's no master plan, right? The first plan was build something cool that someone will buy. Second plan was use that money to build something better. And then the master plan, step 3, use that money, after getting a lot of clients, to build something which is revolutionary. So at the start, there was a reason why Exxon and HB bought from me and my dog. Not because of what we did was very good, but just because it was a tiny bit better than anything that existed, which is really cool. Because you built something that didn't exist, and someone bought it. It's amazing. But then we're always trying to stretch that evolutionary gain a little bit further to build something which is ultimately beautiful and elegant. That's the mission. And along the way, what I also realized as I grew up a little bit is I like doing that with human beings. So an equal part of that mission is to build just a great team. So we employ in Latin America, people across most countries. We even have a whole Venezuelan family working for us who get paid in US dollars. That means we're feeding that whole community, which is so cool, because they can do most of their work. And what we actually have an interesting story. The internet failed, blackouts, we know that, Venezuela, Caracas. And what we saw is that all of the other people that were working for us, or groups, donated part of their salary to those 3 people, so that whenever there was a blackout, their workload would not drop and their salary would not drop. That's just like spontaneous networking or community building. So this for me is the power of the internet. How do you bring diverse people, diverse languages? So we just got back from the beach 2 weeks ago in Singapore, where we had 35 people on this beach. We stayed there for 3 days. And there were 19 nationalities. That was fantastic. 19 nationalities together on that island of a group of 35. So it's fantastic. So that's where I see building something cool. What that is, I don't know. We'll figure it out. But along the way, building a great team of people that come together. Question over there?
Boa noite.
Boa noite.
Vim de outro estado para poder te assistir. Vim de Minas Gerais, o estado aqui ao lado. Queria que você falasse um pouco, dentro das possibilidades, de como funciona o modelo de negócio. Como a empresa contrata vocês e vocês prestam consultoria, ou fornecem um software. Como que é esse modelo de contratação de vocês e o dia a dia na resolução desses problemas?
Well, how do we make money and stay alive, basically? So there's a couple of answers to that. There are 2 models in startups. One is you have a beautiful PowerPoint, you build a little something, then you go to a venture capitalist. They give you a lot of money, suddenly you feel really good, and you start giving press interviews, and you start looking really cool, and having a nice office with a bike and a dog in it. The other model is you just build something, you use that money, you put it back into the product, you build some more, and you work with the customers. And that's what we've done. Our customers fund us. We didn't go the VC route. That means every dollar that we make is really super important. So how it works is we sell a subscription to that for 1 year. That includes everything. It includes a lot of human beings. And includes a lot of love. Our professional service, we never use the word consulting. That's a bad word. Professional service actually delivers this. Any other questions out there?
Hello, Gunai. So I'm José, I'm public relations specialist, and I take care about company reputations. So can you tell us another example of this application of this technology, but not so complex like oil stuffs and so, and not so far away like which stuffs?
Do you have a good example for Brazil? No pressure. Okay, that's a good one. Food and beverage, one of our clients is one of the biggest food and beverage companies in the world. They have lots of operations all through Latin America. And plastics for them is a very big issue. They're often accused of putting sugar in plastic bottles that make people fat and pollute the ocean. They actually care very deeply about that issue. So that's one example where in Latin America, in every country, we look after that client, we map all of the NGOs, and then we bring the NGOs together with that company so that the company, rather than fight with the NGOs, which is the typical reaction, can actually partner with them and shape really, really positive change. That's one example. Was that good enough?
Yes, a good one. Thank you.
Pass. Any other questions out there? Well, what we'll do is we produce this little card. It's a beautiful piece of work. I did it on a plane from Brasilia last night in PowerPoint, so it's actually pretty ugly. But that's okay, because it just has our details on it. Welcome to reach out, get in touch with us, because we'd love to hear from you. Yeah. But thank you very much for all the questions, and coming out on a rainy night at the end of the day with the traffic, which is horrible. We walked the last part of this distance. But thank you very much. Thanks all. Hopefully that was okay.